everyone, and welcome to the quest for the best director podcast. I'm Matthew Moore, and joining me is a castrating Zion, our very own Caleb Ferguson. Caleb, how's it going?
I'm doing very well. Getting kind of wrecked by finals and all that, but hanging in there.
Well, what's better than having to watch two 2-hour movies and then do a 2-hour podcast about it?
Agreed. Very
Really,
rejuvenating.
yeah, it really takes away from the final stress, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Caleb, it's actually a story I didn't tell you. I've had a pretty crazy week too. You see, I was with Kiana. We're driving on the road, and takes off the side of the road. And we have to get out of the car and turn to one of Kiana's ex-boyfriends who's trying to fight. Not the point, but what happened? Things went really bad, and then somebody came out, and then for some reason, everyone was just really chill after that. They're like, okay, it's cool. We're gonna worry about the naked person instead, and that person was Derek Schwarzinski. Derek,
My balls are cold.
I'm sure. Couldn't have been warm in whatever town they were in. Although it seems like it's one of those places that's always warm, just from how David Lynch thought. We'll talk about that in a bit.
More of that Dennis Hopper. That fucking gas mask really gets me every time.
Oh yeah, we'll get there in a bit. But this is the Quest for the Best Director podcast. We're in the semifinal round, which means we have two directors on a spot: David Lynch and Woody Allen. This week we've watched David Lynch's Blue Velvet and Woody Allen's Manhattan. We're going to talk about it and then decide which director we think deserves to move on to the finals to face Yasin, who is incredibly different than both of these. For those of you who need a quick recap, Blue Velvet is about a boy and his, kind of girlfriend Sandy. They go out to investigate this kind of mysterious activity that's around this woman Dorothy. Dorothy has been kidnapped and by this evil man named Frank. Frank is basically raping Dorothy, using her husband as bait for her not to kill herself. And then our heroes save and it's after some very disturbing in-betweens. And Manhattan is about a man named Isaac, whose friend Yale is cheating on his with a woman named, what's her name? Mary. And Isaac ends up falling in love with Mary, and as it tends to be with Woody Allen movies, things don't work out between Woody Allen's character Isaac and Mary. Goes back to loving Yale. So I'm really not hyping them up as much as I should be, but these are two amazing movies. And guys, what are your general thoughts?
It was a pretty good experience overall.
I gotta say, not to be negative Nelly, but Blue Velvet was way more straightforward than I anticipated, and it was a good movie. But I think every other David Lynch movie more than this movie.
Wow, that is actually a ridiculous take, and I will make it my mission to talk.
I don't know. I didn't think that's what I kind of thought until I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's the most or not the most straightforward, but it's definitely more balanced than I think his other movies. They're just kind of
yeah.
I'm just gonna be David Lynch was I'm gonna make whatever I want, and this is gonna be maybe there's a point to it, maybe not, but I'm just gonna do some weird shit that I want to try out. This felt more I have an actual idea of what I want to say, and it's not gonna just be some real surrealist kind of janky stuff, which I obviously really like. I still like Lost Highway a lot, and Eraserhead was pretty great. but I think this one's definitely more balanced than those.
Yeah, so let's hop into Blue Velvet then. I think that was perfectly said, Derek. I think this is a much more balanced movie. I think it has all of the things I at least enjoyed about like Lost Highway and Eraserhead. It still has, very strong imagery. Um, but like you were saying, Derek, has a more defined narrative, right? Which I think is what Caleb's referring to. It's boring, but I think the narrative kind of masks these like really strong themes and like very pointed message. Actually, like Derek said, like a very intentional, purposeful sort of message. Um,
I
so
maybe I would have had a different interpretation, like had I not like if I was going in blind, right? Like not having seen any other Lynch movies. But there's a point, like pretty early on, like in like the first third of the movie, I would say, uh, where Kyle MacLachlan's character is like, so what's happened here is that this man has kidnapped her husband and is holding them hostage so that he can have sex with her whenever he wants. Da 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 da. And then when I was watching this movie, I turned to people that I was watching it with, and I was like, "There's no way that is a complete red herring. This plot's gonna get 10 times more twisted and crazy than that." And then that ended up being like the exact plot. And I find that like not only holding it up to, like the standard of a Lynch movie, but even in comparison to like any movie, it's not that entertaining to have like the whole narrative, especially when it's like a suspense movie, the whole narrative like spelled out for you, and then it ends up
yeah,
just working out
I
exactly
think
that
the
way.
point
Like
is that like it's supposed to be because this movie isn't really about this, right? It is like a very strong narrative with some like very tense moments, but I think it's the themes are what like make this movie so strong. Um, Derek, what do you?
Yeah, the kind of the whole idea, or yeah, there's like this. He says out what the narrative is, and that's like I don't know that might be a bad thing, but I think how he plays with that is the kind of the point. Like this guy is like, and these characters are acting within this narrative to the like try to get at these themes that he wants to express. So with like what's his face Dennis Hopper's character, it's like
Frank.
Frank. He's like, it's like, oh, this is the bad guy. He's doing some crazy stuff, and it's like he's like basic villain, but it's like the whole point is that he's a basic villain. He's supposed to like represent these evils and whatnot, and then what? It's like not exactly what he's doing that's important, but like the weird shit, like motifs with the like Blue Velvet and stuff, getting at like suppressed sexual urges and like
Oh yeah, a
Oedipal
lot of suppressed
complex
sexual urges.
and stuff,
Yeah,
like all that stuff, and those imagery, the images and like the symbols are the important part. The narrative is there just to kind of push it along in a more organic way than say that's like the usual Lynch affair where it's just kind of like random motifs popping up out at you and you're like maybe they stick, maybe they don't.
and
I think you guys are
I
kind of like discrediting like other Lynch narratives though, because it's not as if they're just random events or like things popping up out of you that are maybe sticking or maybe not. Because like as our discussions have revealed, there is like a very solid logic to everything that he's showing us in his other films. Not to get too tangential, but
I, I wouldn't say the solid logic. I think there's a logic, but I think like they're definitely a lot more up for interpretation.
that's fair.
Um, again, yeah, I don't mean that like as a slight against Blue Velvet, of course, but I think also what the narrative does is it helps control your emotion, right? I think one movie or one moment that I actually didn't really I wasn't able to really fully register the first time is when we have this car chase scene between and then Sandy's ex-boyfriend Mike, right?
Oh yeah.
Where you think it's Frank the whole time, right? And it's like really, really tense. It's like, oh my gosh, Frank. And then you realize it's not Frank. And I think this is beautiful. You still want to give it the same sort of gravitas, right? It still feels like very important. Um, when you're watching it, it's like Mike's so mad and so angry, and then it kind of just dissolves back into like our main narrative. I think it's like done really intentionally, right? Where he's basically showing you that like he's showing you our characters' mental states,
Hmm.
how paranoid they are and how it makes us feel. But then also like the maturity of Jeffrey throughout so many moments. But let's go back to repressed sexual urges, 'cause I think that is the name of the game in this movie. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Uh, But before we get to that, actually, I want to point out the beginning of this movie is like boring, right? Like, but intentionally so, from a directorial perspective, at least. And if you're interested in the plot, it's whatever, I guess. Almost like intentionally poorly acted. At least that was my opinion, but that's not really important. Like from a shot perspective, it's definitely intentionally supposed to be very boring, very static. Nothing interesting, nothing that we would like consider Lynch, becoming of like a top 4 director, right, as he is in our ranking.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's
Once,
like getting
Until
you into that mindset, right? Of like everything's normal here in Anywheresville, USA.
and then the
yeah, exactly.
contrast with the shot of like the worms and or the bugs and stuff, like the I think yeah, that's definitely very intentional. It's the contrast between like the world Jeffrey's supposed to be like going into with like the Frank dude and whatnot and all that stuff, and Dorothy, or is her name Dorothy? Yeah,
Yeah,
Dorothy. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
and that's exactly right. Because once he gets into this world, which is this subconscious, is what I'm about to argue in a bit. That's when things get weird, right? And that's when David Lynch starts to get experimental as well. I would say that besides like you've kind of mentioned, Eric, these like scenes like the ear and the bugs and these close, like basically outside of that first scene of his dad getting the heart attack, the movie's shot like shot over shot, perfectly framed. It's like not interesting, but once he gets into the apartment, we get this beautiful scene of Jeffrey as the voyeur, staring at Dorothy, Isabel's Rosalie's character, and things all of a sudden get a lot more noticeable, right? And you get what I think is this genius series of events where Jeffrey is the voyeur and he is degrading Dorothy. Dorothy investigates, or finds Jeffrey, not investigates. Dorothy realizes Jeffrey's in the closet, holds a knife up to him, does sexual things, and basically degrades Jeffrey. And then Dorothy reverses that, and she gets degraded by Frank, who comes in the room. This becomes subverted because he has like this weird thing where he's like both incredibly dominant but also incredibly submissive and calling her things like mom. So it sets up this amazing parallelism, right? Where we get to see basically the perversion of each of these characters align with each other. And I think what it also very quickly compared to this kind of compares Jeffrey to Frank, which I think is a central theme throughout the entire.
oh yeah, definitely.
What do you guys kind of make of the um, Jeffrey Beaumont, Frank Booth compare contrast?
I thought that was probably one of the things that stood out the most to me on like my watch was like all these little things compare and like that compare Frank and Jeffrey. Like the first thing that stood out to me was like when Barbara, the woman that that lives with Jeffrey, like his aunt, I don't know what she is, but they're just like chilling in the house, and she starts like blabbing away, and he's like, Barbara, I love you, but you're gonna get it, and it's like this like show of violence that's just like almost like completely out of place. It's like preceded by the scene with like Frank, and raping basically the Dorothy. It's like I don't know. It just kind of the immediate follow up kind of contrasted that violence with Jeffrey's violence. And I was like, oh, there's something there. And then it was like the scene where Frank is like calling her mommy while he's like ritualistically raping her. Um, it, like I saw that with compared to the scene where Jeffrey has uh it's like he tries to like protect her and
Yeah,
stuff.
where he's having sex with her, and he's like trying to like be very gentle.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Yeah,
like
she's like, hurt me until he hurts.
yeah, so it's like this urge to protect from like a child in a sense from Frank, and it's or like from Jeffrey, and from Frank is like possession, like childs want to possess their mother and whatnot.
Mhm.
So it's they're both like child and like Oedipal in that same way, or in different ways in the same like role, which is kind of interesting. But then there's also the kind of
Well,
like need for violence there.
yeah, exactly. And after this first rape scene, Jeffrey, and by the way, just if anyone's ever rewatching the movie, like pay attention to all of Jeffrey and Sandy's conversations, 'cause some of the most telling. But Jeffrey asks Sandy something along the lines of like, how do people like Frank exist? Um, and I think the answer to that question is they start off as Jeffries, right? But then Sandy basically said they're just not given love. And I think Frank is the ultimate, right? Like he is perversion to the extreme. Kidnapped a man as he has sex with his wife, who he is restraining from his child. Frank also wants to be able to appreciate her in like this kind of more naturalistic beauty way. So he watches her go sing and gets emotional. Like yeah, the ultimate kind of mixing stuff, right? They're intertwined to him. Literally, he can't even threaten people without threatening to fuck them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jeffrey is definitely identified as a right. His behavior towards Dorothy is unacceptable, right? Not just the spying. He's having sex with this woman who is clearly like emotionally damaged, right? This would, borderline is like some sort of like rape case, not rape case, but he's definitely taking advantage for it to this extreme. And but the difference is Jeffrey has love, and Jeffrey has the outside world. Frank is what Jeffrey would have if the outside world didn't exist. If people like didn't exist who like loved regardless. And that is, by the way, one of the most powerful scenes ever is when Sandy is seeing Dora, who is
Yeah,
kind of
I was literally gonna mention that when you brought up how she was like distraught or sick, and like Jeffrey's also kind of just sick and like using her because it's like
mm,
she's like it's just standing there. It's like what is the line she says is like he puts the sickness in me, and I was like what
oh
the
yeah.
holy shit, like it's just like so powerful and just in the most awful fucking way possible.
And Sandy is horrified because she's seeing this is Jeffrey's dark side, right? It is Dorothy. This is Jeffrey's perversion. What some like deeper seated, subconscious part of Jeffrey wants, his desires. The ego, super ego. I always get these, um, whichever one's like the desire. But that's what she's seeing, and she's obviously horrified because it's disgusting and terrible. But she's able to forgive him because she loves him. But she even has this line like I forgive you, I love you, I love you. But I couldn't watch that because it is really horrific. It is like one of those horrific moments, I think. Crazy in a movie where a character gets raped repeatedly.
Another
Caleb's been
similarity
quiet
between
for
the two
mm,
that I want to talk about is the whole like light aspect between uh, Frank and Jeffrey because they have this like kind of recurring scene where like every time that Jeffrey is like returning from sleep, there's like a candle or a light that goes out. I
mhm.
can't remember which way it is. Is it that it goes out and then he goes to sleep, or it goes out and then he wakes up? Either way, there's like this whole light aspect of things that's represented by like candles, and then the whole thing with Frank is that like whenever he like always wants the light off, like don't look at me, turn the light off, keep it dark, da 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 da. So, and then I think also the final time we get this light sequence instead of a candle, it's a lamp. So I don't know like what y'all's thoughts on that were. I'm not sure what it necessarily means, but I guess it just signifies some sort of change, like in the
Well, the
situation.
candle, I'm not entirely sure about the lamp part, but I think the candle is definitely supposed to show, like, it's supposed to reflect the subconscious, right?
Yeah,
Because
for
Frank
sure.
is Jeffrey's he is the inner or darker parts of Jeffrey's mind. Um, I think that's where that connection. I'm not sure what to make of the lamp, though.
hmm
When does the lamp occur? Could you remind me?
I don't know in reference to like what other scenes. I just know that it's the final one that we've like seen this like candle like flame uh every time that he's like waking up or like in like coming to
Hmm.
or going into a sleep state. And then the final time, it's like an artificial like lamp of some sort. I don't remember. I watched the movie a long time ago, but it was like a some sort of lamp. It was artificial as opposed to a flame.
Interesting. And then, of course, I guess the most direct moment, when for the Jeffrey Frank comparisons are when what is happening?
The
Wait, we're
police.
good.
Wee.
um, no, but I think the most direct moment for Jeffrey and Frank is when Frank literally turns to Jeffrey with his gas mask on. This is in the car. He puts the gas mask on. He looks at him. And he's like, "You're just like me." He says that literally straight up, because Jeffrey is, but Jeffrey has help, and Jeffrey has the world. Frank has.
That's kind of interesting that you say that because to me, that sort of like embodies like what I found not that interesting about this movie is that like yeah, maybe the themes are good, but they're just delivered so like directly. You know what I mean? There's no like I feel like in some cases there's very little like artfulness to the way that they're presented because it's just so like now I'm going to tell you what the story is, and now I'm going to look directly, verbally say the connection between these two characters. You know what I mean? It's not like it doesn't feel like as fun to unravel as like some of his other movies.
I don't know if Fun to Unravel a key way of how I dissect movies. I think it's like open up with its imagery, especially because this is in a pretty throwaway, right? There's no like big musical score. He's gonna sing just like me, and then the narrative kind of also think there's lot more there that I think you could hear that and you still wouldn't quite understand without digging deeper.
Yeah, and even if you are digging deeper on this, it's like, what movie would like actually do that? The fact that he does like allow his characters to just be like, yeah, I'm going to address like the theme right here, right now, in this like meta way. But if you're not paying attention, you're not gonna recognize this in like in a real sense.
Well, I think it's also what sets off Jeffrey too. I think it has some narrative significance where he says he just gets Jeffrey's mind running, right? We get a cut to Jeffrey, and then being very sexual with I think he was like I don't know exactly. Being very sexual with Dory. That's when Jeffrey punches him. It's like him
Yeah.
attacking back.
One thing that I liked was the in the investigation of like the first half of the movie and how it sort of like works as a metaphor for like romance slash like sexual relationship between Jeffrey and then what's the girl's name, Sally? Because like instead of going out
Sandy.
on Sandy, sorry, instead of like going out on dates, they're like meeting up at night to like investigate this like strange happening, and then like it even like engenders jealousy in her boyfriend and this sort of thing, and how like we don't really get that much, at least in this part of the movie, any kind of like actual relationship between them because they're sort of like using this investigation as like a proxy.
Yeah, I think that's like really interesting as well. But this is how they connect, right? This is how Sandy falls in love with Jeffrey.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing him, but it's funny because the investigation is really just Jeffrey investigating himself, right? His own fantasies, his own perversions. It becomes more interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially because Jeffrey's not able to make the move on Sandy. He doesn't kiss Sandy until right after the scene where he makes right. He has to be able to settle it in his subconscious first before he can settle it in his.
I like it. Also, the whole motif that I really liked in this movie was this like stairway that leads up into the apartment, and how that kind of acts as like a visual indicator of like this moving between the conscious and unconscious worlds, or like the normal world and the strange world. Because like I don't think he ever goes up to that apartment without explicitly being shown to be moving through the stairwell. Like it's never like implicit that he's like in her apartment now. It's always shown that he's walking through those stairs.
And the final confrontation with Frank begins on the stairway.
Yep. Let's see. And then like kind of coming back to what y'all were saying about like the whole love thing and how like Frank is how Jeffrey would be without love and all that stuff. That's also like very explicitly said. I don't remember by who, but there's someone. Is it Sandy like telling her jam about the robins or whatever? And there's all the robins are gonna come out.
That's the
and
prophetic
sing.
dream. That's also
Yeah.
kind of pretty meta, and that's actually one of the things I really like is that it is like Sandy coming out with this prophetic dream that's like I don't know, the whole Robin eats the insects, the good eating the insects, light, death, and all that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that was very satisfying.
Oh yeah, I didn't mind. I thought that was pretty cool, but it was just another instance of like them being very direct with it, which is not bad, I guess.
Another thing I really liked. It's not that direct. It's not like it's just a story.
It's I don't know. It's direct in the most like I don't know, in a very non-direct way. It's like surreal. Like let's have this girl have like a dream of the theme. I don't know. Usually it'd be like, you gotta go home, Dorothy. If it was gonna be like direct. Instead, it's like
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just a notable quote that like I think maybe it's direct by Lynch standards, but like let's talk about Manhattan. Definitely has some very direct quotes in there as well. I don't know. There's another theme I want to talk about really quick, which is this like idea of the beautiful and and how beauty can come out of the horrible. For instance, like it starts at the beginning of the movie, or how the horrible can come out. It starts at the beginning of the movie, right? Nice blue velvet song, beautiful grass, red roses, and all of a sudden, Jeffrey's father has a heart attack. And then conversely, we get the opposite of those. Through all the horrible things that happen to Jeffrey in this Frank Booth incident, he does meet Dorothy, and that relationship is really like legitimized. And he gets close with Sandy, like you were saying, Caleb, and that relationship's legitimized. Through this like very like series of horrible events, you get this incredibly happy ending, which is really emphasized, right, with like these beautiful color palettes, etc. I think it's like definitely another really important thing to note.
oh yeah, and then Jeff. Another interesting thing I noticed was like Jeff to get into Dorothy's house was insect and exterminator, and like the beginning motif or whatever is or introduction is like with the insects in the ground and stuff as darkness and stuff. So he's like literally entering the darkness as an insect exterminator.
It's cool. I didn't think about that. Like he's like trying to get rid of the evil somehow.
Yeah.
I also think the casting for this movie is so brilliant in so many ways. Um,
Yeah, Dennis
particularly
Hopper killed it.
yeah, Dennis Hopper's Frank Booth is just so. And from my understanding, Dennis Hopper wasn't really a bad guy. He pretty much only played good
Yeah, he's
guys.
like all I've seen him before. I could think of seeing him in as a like, youngin was in hero movies. Holy shit! Yeah, it's kind of crazy. He played like I've heard in like song samples and stuff. His lines like quoted all the time. I know Ministry
Yeah.
quotes his lines all the time.
And then I also think Isabella Rossellini as Dorothy is so, especially because she is literally like an unknown actor, right? I mean, she's known, I guess, known for, which by the way is so perfect because I was listening to a podcast. Of course, Isabella Rossellini, the daughter of Roberto Rossellini and Katharine Hepburn. Is that right? Yes,
I don't know.
it is Katharine Hepburn, right? Oh, Ingrid Bergman. Ah, gosh dang it, I knew it was one of those. Come on, guys. What was the movie? What was the movie? The Rossellini movie with Ingrid Bergman.
Oh, oh. 1 second.
Oh, the movie Stromboli.
Yeah, Stromboli.
Stromboli, yeah.
I want to call it Bomborli.
But she's a child born of scandal, right? Born as a horrific, and then she ends up becoming, you know, what she was like, like considered like the most beautiful woman, right? Like this like supermodel of supermodels. So she like herself is like the beautiful born from the horrific, which is so perfect for this movie. David Lynch found her. She wasn't really even an actress at the time. And he cast her, and she did amazing, I think. Because not only did she do so good, her role is so difficult, and she just kills it.
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah, the acting was very good in this movie for sure.
Okay, you guys want to move on to Manhattan?
Let's do it.
Okay, so Caleb, how did you feel about Manhattan?
I liked it. It's a great movie. This was like the second time I'd seen it, and I probably even liked it better the second time. Yeah, it kind of does like everything that Woody Allen does well in like a very refined way. Um, let's see.
Really beautiful movie for sure,
Yeah,
right?
there's great
Like all these
shots.
shots of New York, um, especially like the shot of the two of them on the bench with like the bridge in the background.
Oh yeah, classic.
So good.
I thought the shot where he and his high school girlfriend are like in his apartment and she's like lying there on the couch and he's like coming down the stairs or something. It's like shot in in a way that's like so different than like all the other shots because I remember like the lighting's very soft and
Yeah, so you're talking
it's very like
about
dark.
yeah. So you have like these like two lights. You have like the staircase on the right, and you have Woody Allen on the couch on the left. Like the lamp shining so
Yep. Yeah.
so good. I have like ingrained in my head. It's
Yep.
just beautiful. And then kind of these two doorways in the middle. One's like a hallway, one's a doorway that kind of like really section off really well.
hmm And then all the shots in the planetarium too are super good.
Of course, those actually get a bit over the top, I think.
I like them.
Like they're really pretty, but it's like come on.
And then I think there's so many references to like old movies too, like Woody Allen does super well.
hmm
But they weren't like super explicit. But just in like the way that they were shot, like all the shots of him walking around town with his son, somehow like the music too seemed exactly to me like a Charlie Chaplin movie or something like that.
Yeah, like where he's pointing to one thing and his son's pointing to the other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like just like the kind of like I guess ragtimey type music in the background and like I don't know the kinetic aspect to all the shots and then of course the dialogue in this movie is great. So all around it's like that's a banger for sure.
There's another more direct Chaplin reference I wrote down somewhere, but I can't find it. Oh well. Thought I wrote it down. I remember thinking this one moment like, wow, this is very, very Chaplin. But I guess I didn't write it. Oh well. Um, Derek, you've been pretty quiet. What were your thoughts?
Um, I don't know, but my first comment that I did actually, I only wrote down a few, but my first one was the first 30 minutes is exhausting.
Really?
I thought it was like very exhausting. All the dialogue just like ham-fisted in my face, just over and over again. I specifically remember being exhausted, and this comment reminded me of that. I was like, "Holy shit! Please calm down."
I think exhausting in a good way though. I don't know, like where he's talking to his friend, his high school age girlfriend. And it's like these like close-ups of him, and he's like talking and talking and talking, and it's so hard to watch. You're right, but just because of how I put brutal is what I put when you're watching these like scenes of like close-up of Woody Allen, confesses basically.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like digging it for a while. I remember that. I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. Then I just got tired. I was like, oh dang. And then eventually, luckily, it did calm down, and I started enjoying the film more. And
I actually kind of felt the opposite about it in terms of like the way I felt at various times in the movie. Because I felt like by the last third of the movie, I was like getting really tired of like the relationship back and forth, like people not knowing what they want kind of thing.
yeah,
And like, oh, now I'm gonna be with this guy, and now I'm gonna have a crush on this guy, da 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 da, whatever. And like by that point in the movie, I was like, okay, like we get it. Like I still like other aspects of the movie, but at least in terms of like having to constantly deal with that, I was like a little tired of it.
yeah. I also
I
kind of
think
felt
that's
some of
also a
that.
bit intentional though, right? Like I think yours would be a bit tired of them because they're really annoying.
Yeah, exactly.
Mary and Yale are just like pretty insufferable as like human beings, especially like when Isaac goes to Yale's school and in that argument, and Yale's like, "I set you up with her." It's like, "Yeah, but then you got back." It's like, he's
Yeah, that
pretty
seems so
insufferable
great
there.
too
So
because like in the background there's like a Neanderthal or like primate skeleton like right between them as they're like having this like like chest beating like type argument. It's so
yeah,
funny.
it is. This is one of his funny, probably like off top is funny.
Ooh, speaking of references to other movies, did you hear how he literally references Grand Illusion?
No,
Yeah, he was talking with I can't remember. He was talking with like one either the high school girlfriend
no,
or
It was
that's not the same Grand Illusion.
really?
They It's by a different director. I can't remember what director they said. I think it's like W.C. Fields, but they reference it a few times. I know what you're talking about now. It's
Wait a
not the same
minute.
one though, unfortunately.
How do you know? He just said the word Grand Illusion.
He knows
And
it's
if I
by
look up
W.C.
WC Field Grand Illusion, I don't get anything.
Maybe I swore they said it was like the W.C. Fields Grand Illusion.
I don't remember. I remember Grand
They reference it a
Illusion
few times.
vaguely.
Well, let me go to the disambiguation of Grand Illusion.
Um,
Anyways, this is the only movie that's called Grand Illusion I'm seeing. But anyhow,
Hardly matters.
yeah, another. I think like this movie has so many good funny throwaway lines. Obviously, another film references when Mary and Yale are just like trashing all these like very like accomplished people.
oh yeah, and he has like the opposite opinion of all of them. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah. I think is when she's like, because Woody Allen in real life loves Bergman, so obviously Isaac has to love Bergman as well. And he gets like offended, like, how could you, like, that's Bergman's original. And she goes, don't you guys dignifying of one's own psychological and sexual hang by attaching them to these grandiose philosophical ideas or
Hmm.
philosophical issues, and it's just so funny because it's like very clearly describing all of Woody Allen's movies.
No, and that's what's so goddamn funny about this movie in like the meta sense is that like the whole conflict of this movie is that his ex-wife is going to publish this expose, right? And tell the whole world about all of his hang-ups and fears and all the things he did wrong in his marriage. But that's what this movie is. Manhattan is his
Yeah,
own publishing of his own hang-ups and failures and all that stuff. So it's oh god, this movie's so funny. And that's what's great about this movie is like the like kind of clever narrative is there, and then the dialogue is also clever, like the one liners and like quips are funny, the characters are funny, like all of it is just like well done. It works on every level. The other film reference is your friends are like the cast of a Fellini movie.
yeah. Which I thought was very, very good. What was the Fellini movie we watched?
We
Oh
watched
my
a lot of
gosh,
Fellini movies, didn't we?
what?
We watched at least
It's
two.
interesting that you mentioned that this is like a commentary on his failures in life, and he's dating a younger girl who's
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's
I
like
mean he's famous for that though.
oh god.
Apparently I read somewhere that like Woody Allen, this is basically like he just like immediately after like releasing this, he just felt disgusting about it. Like it's his least favorite film to this date. Like he
Why?
hates it.
Because he like revealed too much of himself or something?
I don't know. That's what I assume.
Lock him up.
Just like it really is like a brutally honest movie.
It really is
Um,
brutally honest, yeah.
just but there's like some we're talking like how much like a joke it is and how funny it is, but I think the serious moments are really good as well.
Hmm.
Like and it is kind of hard to watch Isaac and his relationship, Tracy being like the younger girlfriend,
Hmm.
but it's also like really heartfelt at the end, I think. I actually really enjoyed it. As much as you can, I guess.
Dude, also, Tracy, whoever played her, literally banger. Like, she is an amazing actress. She does so
No,
well in this movie.
she's so good,
Is
which
that
is good because
the
he's
younger
not a
girl?
good actor in this. What, Derek?
Is that the younger girl?
Yeah, Tracy is the high school girlfriend, and the
That's
actress that played
that's
her is
Ernest
like
Hemingway's
incredible.
granddaughter.
It's who?
Ernest Hemingway's granddaughter.
Wow.
That's really, really funny because they definitely do a couple shots at Fitzgerald throughout the movie. There's the one where Mary and Yale are digging on everyone, and they also make a reference to Zelda. Like it's like the Zelda Fitzgerald Sanity Award. Is what he said. So maybe she was a bit giggly at those. But yeah, she's so good, which is great because he's like not very good. This is like probably his worst acting movie.
It didn't detract from me. I didn't like think he was bad.
I think it was like
Not astounding, but
that was the one part of the movie I really disliked. I think it's actually interesting because Woody Allen is like not a good actor, a top tier actor like some of these other people are, especially once again in this movie. Like, but there was one point at the very end of the movie where he's going on this monologue about the things that make you happy. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It starts off with like Groucho Marx, which is like really, really good.
oh yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
But then and then it ends with like and Tracy's, which is like a really good comeback or callback, I guess. But then it's also really powerful. I'm like, man, maybe he's not a bad actor. I realized that Woody Allen is a comedian, so he's very. It's just when any other human beings involved, things
Uh,
get like worse. Like I think his like narration at the beginning is very good. Like any moment where he's by himself.
yeah, that's true. Speaking of characters being by themselves, there's a lot of conversations in this movie that are had like with people off screen. Like one of the people having the conversation is on screen, the other person is off screen, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I think it once again makes the movie feel a bit more real, because you're getting kind of a bit more of these characters than you want to get. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Like he'll do like these like shot reverse shot conversations, but they just last. If that makes any sense.
Hmm.
Like it'll just kind of like linger on a character for a bit more than. I think the theme of the city is also really powerful. I think there's definitely, speaking of like cinematic callbacks, like this movie's a callback, kind of the 1920s. Oh my gosh, what are they? Like the city movies. There was a better name, like city symphonies, like Berlin Symphony of a Great City. Oh gosh, what's the Vertov? Man with a Movie Camera.
Yeah.
These sort of things. I think it's definitely a callback, and I think he really um he has a really good job at dressing up Manhattan and kind of making you really.
See, that's kind of maybe one thing that I didn't get about this movie is like it doesn't. I don't really feel the city coming through. Like for it being named after Manhattan, like it just mostly feels like a character drama, right? Like I don't see why this exact movie couldn't have taken place in any other major city. Like what about this is like about Manhattan? Because I would say even Annie Hall is like feels. I feel more Manhattan in that movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Like
Well,
obviously the
I know what you
shots
mean at least, but
show like some iconic
I think what it
places, yeah,
is,
but
I think it's the idea of like these people who have to distract themselves, like to keep away from their misery. I think he has a line
Mhm.
about I don't remember the exact line, but something along the lines of like, yeah, but basically that's what New York is. These people just doing ridiculous things to like not have to think about the greater questions in life. I think it's the idea of these exhausting people doing exhausting
Mhm.
things, right? Like you have Yale who refuses to settle down because I don't know, he just can't for whatever. And right when his wife wants to settle down, have a kid, he acts out.
Mhm.
Um, and I think there is one moment that's um where they're going on this where Isaac and his girlfriend, what's her name? Tracy. Isaac and Tracy are going on this horse drunk, and but we for the longest time we don't see that they're on a carriage. We just hear like kind of the clomping of hooves, and just like a shot of the city, like moving, a tracking shot, and it's so good because it's like the power of this scene isn't coming from the action; it's coming from the city, right? That's how the romance is built up. Um, so by the time we cut, we're already kind of in the mood. I guess. Yeah.
I see.
Diane Keaton, we actually haven't spoke about her at all somehow, but she does amazing in this movie as well.
Yeah.
Agreed. No, that's good. I don't know. It was kind of weird. He was kind of funny, but it wasn't like a stellar performance.
You didn't think it was stellar?
Mm-mm.
I thought she did so good. I think especially impressive because she plays like the exact opposite character, which is like, another very similar movie besides the fact that she's just the opposite. So I don't know. I think that added to my enjoyment of her performance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
if you guys have anything else you want to say about these movies?
So this movie's set in like the 70s. I could definitely see her as like a proto version of like, you know, third wave riot girl feminism. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah, but she's like too smart. Yeah. Like on the lowest of keys. I don't think these that type is referencing has the ability to like shit on Bergman. You know. Um, so I think usually we start off with best, right? But I have a ton of quotes from these movies. So can I do a quote sound off? Or maybe you guys can do your favorite quotes, and then I'll do my quote sound off because I have like a ton.
uh, my favorite quote is Dorothy from Blue Velvet. She says in the scene, he puts his disease in me when he's like when she's like standing there naked in front of fucking Sandy and her mother. I literally put like under that Jesus fucking Christ. I was just like so affected by that one like scene and lineup.
Oh, it's so good. Another really good line from around there is, "I love you." Love. Dorothy just screams it at him.
Yeah, that was definitely very powerful.
Caleb, what's yours?
Let me see here. I have so many too. There's like some that are like really touching and deep, and then some that are just like straight funny. Like one of the touching ones is when he says, "The worst thing," or I don't remember who says it actually. I forgot to write down who, but it was in Manhattan. It says, "The worst thing that's going to happen to you is you're going to learn something about yourself." And then in terms of like the funny ones, when he's like, with Nazis, physical force is always better.
Yeah, it's so funny. With Nazis, physical force is always better. Like he says it.
Oh yeah, that's the one that I was gonna mention that 'cause I thought it was so hilarious. That whole scene with
That same scene. Yeah, that
it was
same
just
scene.
it just
Where it's
got me.
like, I finally had an orgasm. My doctor told me it was the wrong kind. He goes, the wrong kind.
Every
This is my worst one, right on the money.
Yeah.
the way he says that, like just the phrasing is so good. Like he
Yeah.
could have said that like same idea 10 different ways, but like just that choice of words makes it so funny.
So. Oh, by the way, one thing I wrote in all caps that I need to mention is that one joke that probably has gotten a lot funnier with age is the fact that her like ex-husband always like hyping up as like this like ladies like it's Wallace Shawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
That part was so funny to me. Holy crap. Also, another like random throwaway
Definitely
line is when
ages
she's
better
like,
now that Wallace become the cultural entity that he is. So good.
one of the other like kind of random lines that I thought was so good was when she's like, my analyst is in a coma. He had a very bad acid experience.
Which is so good because like she's all these lines about her analyst before that.
Exactly. That's like such a cool character too. Like this analyst that we never actually meet, but yet like is such a well developed character. Is so funny.
Well, because she throws it away too, which just makes it perfect. She's like, he's still in the coma from his bad acid experience. Something along those lines. Like she really going. Another one out the analyst is. No, this is actually about his. He tells his ex-wife, "Yeah, my analyst warned me, but you were so beautiful, and I got another analyst." About about her being bisexual.
Oh yeah. That was a good scene.
Another really good. Another Mary has a few really good. Another one is very authoritative, like the Pope or the computer in 2000. And then also on the wall, the Sean thing, Isaac describes him as homunculus. Just, it's so perfect. Or when he's talking Mary and Dio, they probably sit around with wine and cheese and mispronounce allegorical and didacticism.
Oh yeah.
And then one more, just before I get into one more, says, "This is gonna kill my father. He's not gonna have as good of a seat in the Senate." It's just like throwaway stuff is so funny. And then one very funny one from Blue Velvet, when they take him to the guy's house. What's the guy's name? Bill? Is it the guy's like the suave guy's name?
Oh yeah, they
Which
keep
is so
calling him
yeah.
fucking suave. You're so damn suave.
It's so good. But when he
Ben.
asks-
It's Ben. It's Ben.
It's Ben. Yeah, that's right.
God damn, Ben.
When Wallace asks him what kind of beer he wants, he goes Heineken. He's like, "Fuck that shit. Pops Blue Ribbon."
Yeah.
I died. The funniest thing ever. Because the Heineken joke was built up from earlier too, so like.
Build up for something so minor.
And then one joke at the very end, and this is like a more serious, or one quote, I mean, not one joke. One quote at the very end. This is a more serious one, but it's the end of it, where he's talking to Tracy. Isaac and Tracy are having that talk at the train station. And he's like, "I don't know if I can do this. I can't do 6 months long distance." And she looks at him and says, "You have to have a little faith in people." I don't know. I think that one really, really hit. That said, though, my favorite quote was probably the Bergman one. The one about Bergman. That's like talking about Woody Allen. I thought it was a really, really good. So, now that we spent 10 billion years in the quotes,
What's the next part?
oh, favorite scene?
Favorite scene.
I'll go with the obvious one here. Blue Velvet, the lipstick scene with the girl dancing on the car to the Sandman,
Oh.
Oh yeah.
and it's so funny. It's so bizarre, but like also very distracting.
Yeah.
It's
That whole scene has like a magical tension to it. I love it.
I'd probably say the. Well, give me some more time to think. You go first, Derek. I'm still thinking.
Mine would probably be, since I already told you my quote from the scene, that's not gonna be it, but that gets an honorable mention from that scene with Dorothy fucking naked. My favorite though is then gonna be I'm gonna give it to tough. It's gonna be also Blue Velvet. It's gonna be I like the scene with the what's his name? When Jeffrey goes into the like get the exterminator gear and everyone just like so happy to see him. It's like it's just it reminds me of like Leave It to Beaver or something. Like, we're gonna miss you, Beaver. Like, I don't know. It's so innocuous. And it's like this is I know some wacky shit actually gonna go down. And I can feel like I can feel the tension there. Like the dude's gonna be in some fuck shit soon.
Man, when Frank finds him at the door, Isn't that so like terrifying?
Yeah, that is a very terrifying moment. I thought that was gonna be like the end of the movie right there.
Yeah. Caleb, they
I'd say the whole when they're in Ben's house is just like so weird. Because it kind of shows like we talked before about like uh that Jeffrey is kind of like held to the side of good by like the other people he has in his life, and then I think like this shows like the other people Frank has in his life. So it's revealing from like a narrative standpoint, and it's also just like so absurd and oddly funny, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. Especially that part with the people that in Frank's life. That is like very powerful for that.
Hmm.
Okay. Best performance.
Tracy or whoever played her, I guess.
I'm gonna go Isabella Rossellini. I think she does an incredible job. Dirk?
Um, I'm gonna give it to hmm hmm
Who you deciding between?
Dennis Hopper. I was gonna go
Okay, yeah.
either Dennis Hopper or what's her name? I don't know what her name is in Manhattan, but Meryl Streep.
Oh,
She did so.
she does a really good job, huh? Huh. She's like so just ridiculous of a human being, but like also like very understandable.
Mm-hmm. You can tell how so easily how fed up she is with fucking Woody Allen. Is like,
Isaac,
yeah.
yeah. But also like should cheat on him. So it's yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. But favorite character.
Frank.
He's your favorite character? Oh my gosh.
He's, I think he's like very. I don't know. I like characters that leave me with an impression. He definitely left me with a really good impression.
Sure. I was gonna go Caleb.
Um, I guess I'll say Jeffrey because he kind of like treads this line between like he's like is he as much of a good guy as he seems like he is, or does he have a darker side? Because they also like always dress him in black, which is kind of weird. And then he has this like really strange like curiosity towards the whole case that like drags him into it. So he's a
Hmm.
very interestingly designed
Hmm.
character.
I actually really like that choice. But now I'm gonna start with you actually. Are you still saying that Blue Velvet from every other Lynch movie?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm saying step up from everything. Derek,
Wow, I can't believe that's interesting. From everything?
everything. Yeah, all
Wow.
Uh, I say, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I'd say step up from Eraserhead, Elephant Man. I really liked Lost Highway. Hmm. Hmm. I think I don't like the themes as much as Lost Highway, but I like the characters, like performances more. So I'm gonna say step up. But I like the atmosphere and the themes of Lost Highway more.
so you're saying Left Highway a bit more.
Yeah, so Lost Highway's a little bit better.
Okay. This one's harder for me. Where does Manhattan rank among Woody Allen films?
Hmm. What have we seen? Crimes and Punishment. Yeah, it's probably step
Crimes
up.
and Misdemeanors,
Crimes and
Hannah and her
Misdemeanors.
sister, and then oh my gosh, I know what it is. I can't remember what it's called. The
Oh,
one with The
Rose of
movie.
Cairo. Rose of Cairo.
Rose of Cairo, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's I kind of want to say.
Tough one.
Hmm. Give me a sec.
I think Manhattan has more rewatchability than the other ones, so I'll probably put Manhattan above everything, but they're all so good.
I'll say slight step up for all of them.
Wouldn't you, Derek?
Yeah, he said it was a slight step up from all of them, and I'll probably agree. I kind of concur with what you said that it probably has more rewatchability. Um, but yeah, damn, I don't know. I think like Hannah and her sisters might be like top tier for me. So maybe like tied with that, but above everything else. I don't know. They're all so good.
Yeah, I know what you mean, right? The plot in this one's is more boring. Honestly, any of the other three, but everything else about this one's better.
Yeah.
So take that as you will. So Caleb, Archie, Derek, we'll start with you. Which movie?
Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet one.
Uh, I thought it was more interesting thematically. I didn't get to talk about the shots really, but I thought those were more interesting also on a thematic basis, like with the whole red versus blue thing and light and dark. There's a few shots specifically that I was gonna mention that I forgot to. Um,
Yeah, there's definitely. You were saying with the
yeah.
colors, there's so much crazy colors things. But like,
Mhm.
we would actually probably need like a professional to actually walk us through because there are these subtle things that he'll do where he'll just like kind of make the color palette a bit duller and things like this that just it's so good. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think in a very real sense, kind of how like Ozu does it, but in a more like art way, like painting way, he uses color, which is cool, and like shots to effectively like give to theme, which I appreciate a lot. The Blue Velvet for sure.
Caleb.
I say Manhattan for me, like I've already explained. I like Blue Velvet, but I wasn't that impressed by it. Um, Whereas Manhattan is just like so well put together, and like I said, like every aspect of a film that you could talk about, I feel like Manhattan pretty much does well. Like acting's good, dialogue's good, writing's good, cinematography's good. Everything is like it's just so good, and it just hits me on like every level.
Okay. Up to me. I would like to say first and foremost that perverse part of me really just wanted to vote for Blue Velvet because not I do not look forward to watching Annie Hall and Ozu film and have Dirk shit all over Annie Hall. Just starting with that. And Caleb, both of no one's gonna be on my side when we watch Annie Hall.
Wait! I don't have anything against Annie Hall.
Okay. We'll get if we get there. Um, Blue Velvet was like a top 10 movie of mine. Manhattan is now hovering around there as well. I really love both of these films. They're definitely of all time. Like, I really love them. Um, I think Blue Velvet really ramps up. I think a bit slow though, like intentionally slow, so you can't really hate. But the kind of instant gratification side of or likes at least that I have something to hold on to is gonna vote Manhattan. But it was really close. These are like both top 15. But I think I enjoyed Manhattan. Just crazy. I'll probably make it the opposite tomorrow. I would. The two movies I would go back and forth on the rest of my life. But yeah, Manhattan.
Wow.
We did
I'm
it.
highly disappointed. I could not put. I cannot express to you how disappointed I am. Manhattan is
I see what
still in like the bottom half of my like ranking.
that, that's nuts. No, this is like top three. Both of these are my top.
Well,
Okay,
only one
so
podcast episode left, boys.
and in a weird twist of fate, it is Woody Allen versus Yasujiro
Y'all are two hard
Tokyo
stands for Woody Allen.
Story versus really the battle that we all expected, I think. It's gonna be a great episode. Super looking forward to it. Till then, have a great day, week, month, holiday season, and watch more movies.